All right, Ian, this was an interesting topic. And this was a game that is notorious for being one of the worst games ever. And James Rolfe actually did a review as the Angry Video Game Nerd after getting requests. And this is a game that, by and large, you could only find via downloading, a ROM.
Yeah.
Playing this, because people are like, what the fuck is this game? Was this real? Was this actually made? Like, I mean, it was made, but did this actually come out somewhere?
Who made this, or did it just manifest itself?
Out of the evil of the earth, like Ghostbusters 2. So we're talking about Hong Kong 1997, which is to say the least, bizarre, I guess you want to call it, shooter, where you're shooting a bunch of guys and cars are trying to run you over on a single screen, and you have a giant head of who is the giant head in that game? I forget. It was like an old Chinese president.
Yeah, I can't remember. So, anyways, the story goes
the same
like
head
this.
on the title screen, by the way.
As Britain transfers sovereignty over the territory to China and the tanks roll in, so do Chinese in huge numbers, causing the crime rate to soar. Former British Governor Chris Patton engages undercover operative Chin, a long-lost relative of Bruce Lee with a striking resemblance to Jackie Chan. His mission, to kill all 1 billion of those ugly Reds.
Is that from, that's the way, like the description of the game?
Yeah, that's partially. Yep.
So, yeah, it's a bunch of stolen assets. The title screen has Jackie Chan on the title screen. Yep. I don't know what movie it's from. But it looks like the box art is Bruce Lee. And and there's like bizarre stuff. Like when you die, it flashes to an image of a dead body, like a corpse of someone, for example, for no fucking reason. And there's like a pop song that plays.
Like a shitty sample.
Of course, we're talking 16-bit because this is like a Super Famicom game. So the point is this. The game is fucking awful. You can barely call it a game. But forever, people are like, what the hell is this? But there's been a recent interview with the if you want to call it creator, I guess the creator, the developer.
It was meant to be an awful game.
Sure.
It was meant
but not as awful as this.
No, not as awful as this.
Okay.
It was meant to be a send-up of, it was meant to be a middle finger to Nintendo, and that's all it was really ever meant to be. And it ended up far shittier than it was ever supposed to be, because he got some help from a programming buddy who worked for Enix at the time.
This is Yoshihisa Kurosawa. He wanted to make the worst game possible.
And he ended up getting some help from a buddy at Enix, but his friend...
And won't say who it was at Enix.
No, they won't.
We're not going to say who. So an actual game developer to come and make this game, but then he only had 2 days to make it.
So I believe the story was they grabbed some beer and food or whatever, and they just
sat down and let's do it. Stole some samples from other entities and music, and we'll just throw this game together.
Now, they didn't actually ever put this on a cartridge. They couldn't. It was they used one of those disc copiers.
Yeah, I actually have one somewhere. You put it into the system, and there's 3.5 floppies. That's how you can copy games back and forth.
So
those are original ROM rippers, basically, for Super Nintendo games, Super Famicom games.
So what I believe they did was programmed it, and then I think they flashed it, and then he just made a bunch of disc copies of it and sold it via mail order.
Mail order in some probably sleazy magazine that 4 people bought, which is why people were like, does this game exist? And there's a Reddit picture of someone actually having a copy of the game. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. I don't see why someone would fake this. It's a Data Life freaking 3.5 floppy disk in this picture, and you have just a printed label, and you have a little like sleeve or book for it, and that's it. 1995 Happy Soft.
Yeah,
Happy Soft
with the little penguin.
So he didn't like how Nintendo was like, I guess, a monopoly, the same way that like all the unlicensed NES developers hated it and took shots.
Yeah,
you go read some of those, like the plots, and like especially like AVE, American Video Entertainment, they just take direct shots at Nintendo in their manuals and their games. Like they don't even hide it.
No,
in those games, like they are mad, and this is what was going on here. Yeah, you're right. Make the worst game possible. You want to work in the games industry, but dislike Nintendo games for their stale settings and characters. Well, you can. I guess you can fall in line, or you can make the worst game ever. And then, but he's. Oh, that is the right. He's holding up a copy of it. So
yeah.
Okay, that was Someone did manage to get a hold of it. I'm wondering how many of these were produced and sold. I mean, I have no idea how it even got. Like, someone had to buy it, of course, and then someone had to copy it to put it online for everyone to enjoy this ROM.
Yep.
Out there.
Enjoy.
Tens of copies sold, 50 maybe, 100. You know, how many were possibly done? I don't know. It's out there. Watch James' review of it. It's pretty good. It came out like a couple years ago, and it's absurdly offensive. But it's
yes,
cheekily offensive, I guess you can say too. Hong Kong, 1997.
Released in 95.
Well, that's the
predicting the future.
Well, that was when Great Britain gave Hong Kong back to China. I guess some people Hong Kong.
There is a link at the bottom, so you can actually play Hong Kong 97 in your web browser.
That's fantastic.
If you need to waste some time at work,
let's just stop with the podcast. Then. I'm pretty much done.